Over the 4th of July weekend, we had the opportunity to drive a friend down to the Mexican border. We started early in the morning. The weather was ominous and dreary. After we dropped our friend off, we decided to visit one of our favorite haunts, the Whaley House, considered to be one of the most haunted places in the country. We had intended to take the tour and videotape while we were there. Fortunately, they were no longer allowing video recording in the house during the tours due to liability issues. So we did the next best thing. We visited the Campo Santo Cemetery down the street. So here we are just on the outside of the old Campo Santo Cemetery. And here is the majority of the cemetery, but we've discovered, our archaeologists locally discovered, that there are grave sites in the middle of the street. So here's one right next to the curb. There's one out there, right in the middle of the street. So there are grave sites all along here. They lost track of where the bodies were. So this is the grave of James Robinson, also known as Yankee Jim, who was hung for stealing a boat right where the Whaley House is now sitting. And Yankee Jim is supposed to be one of the ghosts that is frequenting the Whaley House. People who park their cars in front of the cemetery on top of the graves often find it difficult to start them again. In the evening, people have seen apparitions of American Indians, a woman in a white Victorian gown. You can experience voices, mists, and cold spots.
Okay, so cemeteries and I don't always mix well. There's lots of graves in here of people that died a very long time ago. And other than, what's his name?
Yankee Jim?
Other than Yankee Jim, and the way he died, there's someone else calling out to me from in this cemetery that was murdered. And it's a young man, late teens, early 20s, but I don't know who. Wasn't an important person. But I don't know who.
We don't have his story here.
No, his name is John Walsh.
Son of Thomas Walsh.
John Walsh, son of Thomas Walsh.
And Honora O'Connell.
Died what?
It just died January 1st, 1869, aged 24.
800 a month?
This is him. This is who's reaching out to me. I'm having a real heavy breathing. He still has relatives alive. He has something he wants to tell them.
Well, we really don't have a lot of information beyond that his first name was Jesus, that he was an Indian, and he was 25 years old.
Somebody visits here. Someone in his family in this day is following in his footsteps with alcohol. He wants to warn them not to. the pain and the agony that they're going through. He wants me to warn them. He wants me to leave a letter. I don't know who it is in his family. It's a man. And that man has a daughter. And their relationship is very strained because of it. And he sees all this. And because of the way he died, because of the way he lived, he doesn't want this for them.
So we got these little markers throughout the cemetery, and every one of these markers here is another body.
It's very sad that you don't know whose body this is. It's very disrespectful that you're walking on this person and they probably had family at some point and their family has no idea where they're at and where to go to visit them, and it's heartbreaking that they're just left here this way. I hope you find peace, Jesus. I don't understand this. I don't understand how something like this can be allowed to happen.
What usually ends up happening is there used to be a chapel here, and whatever church it was moved away, and nobody was here to take care of the cemetery. Now they call this Old Town for a reason, because they moved to San Diego south. So, and this part was abandoned, and it had been left abandoned for quite a long time. So, and then they put a road through here, and they didn't bother to see how far the cemetery actually went.
So these people's graves that are out here, like up here where it says,
Right
right here, it says grave site,
yeah.
right here. There was no headstone on it, or name or anything?
Well, there may have been a marker, but it may have dissolved, or may not even knew that this part of the area was part of the cemetery.
So if there was nothing and they didn't know there was a grave here, but if there was something, then they blatantly just...
Yeah, more than likely, because from what I understand is they were aware that there was graves underneath the street, and someone from the local university decided to look for them. So, and that's how these grave markers were discovered.
And there's no way to tell who they are.
No, because all they did was ground penetrating radar, so they knew that there was a grave here.
So the only way to actually tell who they are at this point in time would be to exhume the bodies and...
Maybe, because you don't know what's left. You know, what's in there that actually identifies the mess themselves. Mostly it's just the markers. And as you can see, a lot of the markers are made out of wood.
And don't even have names on them.
Yeah, and so, and the wood rots away, and the families move away, and then they're just lost to time.
It's so sad. It's hard for me to be in this cemetery. It's hard for me to be in a cemetery, but to be in a cemetery like this, it's heartbreaking.